Hello and welcome to Archetype Builds. This is the channel where we take a paragon, a stereotype, an archetype of a particular playstyle, and we show you how to build it in your Dungeons & Dragons character. This week we will be looking at the coach.
Listen.
Hey, sit down, listen.
Everybody better have their eyes on me.
Every man at some point in his life is going to lose a battle. He's going to fight and he's going to lose. But what makes him a man is that in the midst of that battle, he does not lose himself. This game is not over. This battle is not over. So let's hear it one more time. Together. Clear eyes, full hearts. Let's go!
This kind of figure of the sideline coach, the locker room coach, the coach who is out there giving advice and guidance and directing his team to work more effectively. He's not the star player, he's not the quarterback, but he is a source of inspiration and guidance for everyone around him. This is a support character. You can think of people from fiction, obviously, but plenty of sports movies out there with an inspiring coach figure rallying the team before a huge play, making them train harder, bounce back from failure, and just generally helping their whole team to succeed. This is going to be a multi-class build. The primary stat that we're going to want to use is charisma, but we also need to maintain a decent wisdom score. As far as equipment, one of the awesome benefits of playing more of a support role is that you don't need to be worried as much about your armor or your weapons. You don't need necessarily to have powerful magic items. I would recommend grabbing some medium armor and a shield for this character so that on the off chance that you don't stay far enough out of the fray, you are not in danger. For your race, obviously there are a lot of great options out there. I think that there are some fun angles that you could approach this character with. My recommendation from a mechanical perspective is to go Tiefling with the Fierna background. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Essentially, the reason why is because casting spells on humanoids, particularly your allies, will be a key part of this build, and the Fierna background gives you an extra use of the suggestion spell. It's a pretty minor fringe benefit, so you do whatever you think is right. When you are putting together the ability scores for this character, I like to think of them as like a retired adventurer. Maybe they were a fighter at some point, and they have had to hang up the sword and shield, and their body maybe has decayed a little bit, but they've grown wiser and more charismatic over the course of their adventures.
I've been out to pasture, pound my ambition gone.
It lists a lot of the coaches that I have ever met. Certainly many of the ones in real life used to be players, right, and then retire and become coaches in their kind of post-player life. So I think that would be kind of a fun callback to have here. A critical part of this build is to start with one level of Order Cleric. I think if you are entering the campaign at level 1, you want to just describe this as part of your backstory. You kind of worship Order. You have a deep reverence for, maintaining the law and the order of things.
Lesson number 1, never attack in anger.
Rule number 1, karate for defense only. Rule number 2, first learn rule number 1.
Lesson number 2, come with me.
Rule number 95, kid. Concentrate. Rule number 96. Hey!
So what is lesson number 3?
To get to lesson number 4.
Maybe your time as an adventurer means that you have come to really appreciate the values of society and civilization, and so you have sort of a reverence towards that. This isn't necessarily a character archetype that is going to be well fulfilled with a religious or divine flavor. You can certainly put it that way, and a lot of coaches obviously pray with their teams, pray before games, in whatever religion is appropriate to them. So I think you can run that direction. Our character is not going to spend a lot of time in cleric. We are going to pretty quickly take a hard turn to another spellcasting class. So I would not advise making the divinity part of your background be all-encompassing for this character. You appreciate order, you like order and civilization, you're coming in with one level of order cleric. What we're getting here, most of all, is the ability Voice of Authority. What this ability is going to allow us to do is cast spells on friendly targets, so our teammates, and allow them to make attacks as a reaction. So it's going to consume the reaction of the people in your team that you use this on. I think the design intention here was to make healing even better, right? Because you cast a healing word on an ally, and then that ally would not only gain the health, but also get to make an attack. And essentially, you can imagine that coach yelling from the sidelines, right, using things like command or suggestion, and on their own teammates. You can even just command them to attack, and they'll, make an opportunity attack.
Attack! Slow! Again!
Thank you.
Attack.
So this is why we are dipping cleric to this degree. One quick side note on metagaming and power. This ability is particularly potent with a rogue, like a straight rogue build. I think if someone in your party is playing the rogue, one really good role play opportunity is to have that rogue be like being taught by our coach. So our coach is actively like the rogue's coach, teaching them how to become an adventurer. And the reason why I say this from a metagame perspective is because rogues can apply sneak attack if it's not their turn on an opportunity attack. So as long as they have some sort of advantage on the roll. To this end, I think Swashbuckler is probably the most likely to be able to apply their sneak attack to targets. And you could even, wait for that rogue to be in a situation where they would get that sneak attack to start using this ability. But regardless, our role in the party is going to be casting spells on party members, triggering them to give extra attacks, and that's going to be what we do with our turn here at level 1. Cantrip selections. You cannot go wrong, of course, with the guidance cantrip. I think that's a must-have for this build. But you could also use the message cantrip. I think that's relatively useful for a coach. And then look into something like resistance, I think is helpful. Spare the dying could be clutch. And then maybe mending. Just I think cantrips are actually very useful for this character out of combat to be the kind of like restoring the party from whatever they've had to deal with. So if someone's got a broken shield or something, maybe you can mend it. So from the order subclass at first level, we are going to get command and heroism, 2 spells that we could cast on our party. We also might want to pick up something like Shield of Faith, protection from good and evil, even Longstrider, stuff that we can cast on our party that we're grabbing from the cleric spell list while we're still here. By the way, for our bonus proficiencies from our subclass, I would definitely choose Intimidation. I think the coach that we are shaping up to be is a little bit more of the drill sergeant, right, type.
You laugh, you die. Scratch your nose, you die.
Someone who is harsh. They are a fan of order, right? So it's all about, keep your uniform clean, get out there, fight through it, walk it off. So I think that's a great intimidation target. So 1 level of order cleric, and we are already going to dip out to go into Bard. And right at level 2, we're going to get our Bardic Inspiration, which is now what we get to do with our bonus action. So action, cast a spell on an ally. This, I believe, applies even if it's not a cleric spell using a cleric spell slot that you are using. So All of our first level spells that we're going to grab from our next level of Bard would apply for this as well. So action, cast a spell on an ally, bonus action, Bardic Inspiration, and that is how you are spending your turns. As a Bard, pick up whatever cantrips you have not gotten from the Cleric cantrips at first level. And then also, I think this is where we want to start grabbing those healing spells, so like Cure Wounds and Healing Word that scale off of our spellcasting modifier. You will, of course, get some benefits at second level. The one I think is most thematic, of course, is the Song of Rest, where you can kind of like do a halftime speech with your team and inspire them and kind of help them recover better from the battle that they've just fought to go into the next one.
Fellas, we're broken. We need to change. And look, I know change can be scary. 1 minute, you're playing freeze tag out there at recess with all your buddies. Next thing you know, you're getting zits, your voice gets low, and every time your art teacher, Miss Scanlon, leans over your desk to check and see how your project's going, you feel all squiggly inside.
I love that concept, that idea for the coach class. Of course, you are also going to get Jack of all trades, which I think is appropriate for a former adventurer. You've picked up a lot of like little tricks along the way. There's nothing that you can't try from a skill proficiency perspective. That is going to take us to our character level 4, which is going to be Bard level 3, getting our subclass for Bard, our college, right? And as weird as it seems here, we are going to reflavor the abilities that can be found in the Glamour subclass. So here's what I mean. The Glamour subclass is going to get Mantle of Inspiration, which describes the ability as being just like so otherworldly beautiful that it motivates others. Immediately ignore that flavor. This is going to be, right, the hustle. This is going to be the coach yelling, "Come on, let's hustle out there. Let's see this hustle.
Milk it! Milk it! Hurry up! Hurry up! Hurry up! Now go for it! Go for it! Go, Jim! Go!
And you just become so intimidating that the Mantle of Inspiration goes out. And this is going to give everyone the ability to move their movement speed as a reaction. Incredibly tactically useful, especially at the start of a combat when maybe you were ambushed or aren't in as good of a position as you want to be. This gets everybody into position. I think particularly, right, imagine your rogue protege, hopefully a swashbuckler, who is able to have that sneak attack on targets as long as it's just the two of them together, and this allows them to kind of like circle to the point they need to be in that position. Also going to get Enthralling Performance. Enthralling Performance is almost like that Orders Demand Channel Divinity, but just through the Bard subclass. It does take a minute to kind of do this performance that you're going to use, but it charms everyone around you, and they have a very high appreciation for you. I think this is a very fun, like, big speech moment with the Enthralling Performance. You can get up there and talk like a coach in the locker room. What does it mean to be an adventurer?
Be able to one day say, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will feel no evil because I am the baddest mother in the goddamn valley. Yes, yes, sir, yes!
At the end of 1 minute, you've charmed a group of people. Unfortunately, this doesn't provide a lot of benefits to your party. I think we're going to get stuff down the line from a spell perspective that is very useful for that. This is really what you want to use if you are surrounded by NPCs and you want those NPCs to have a high opinion of you. I think you as a coach might have the opportunity to get yourself out of trouble by using Enthralling Performance if your party's not with you. With this next level, we're also going to break into second level spells. A little late compared to some of our other full caster counterparts, but remember that we are getting a fantastic use out of these spells using them on allies. And I think this is where Aid comes into play, and Aid is that, right, it is that inspiring speech to your allies where you're kind of pulling them aside before the match and going,
Your defense, points to come, concentrate, focus, power, remember balance, make coup fight.
And then everyone's going to get that temporary hit points. So that is really, the spell is your inspiring speech, your enthralling performance is your get out of jail free card. Other spells I would recommend, enhance ability, I think is a great one. Maybe even lesser restoration or warding bond. Warding bond, obviously used with caution, but it is a great way for you to sort of put your hit points on the line as the sideline coach, and help one of your allies to survive longer. Great. For our ability score increase at level 4, a lot of our abilities will scale off of charisma. We do, of course, want inspiring leader. Inspiring leader is just like the aid spell, where you can give a speech and give people hit points. You are going to have to make the determination whether you already have enough speeches in your repertoire. We're kind of loading up on ways that you can inspire your teammates. The charisma boost is useful. If you want an inspiring leader feat, I think grab it as soon as you can. So this level is going to be inspiring leader. That takes us to character level 6, bard level 5. At this level, our bardic inspiration improves, and we are also going to refresh our bardic inspirations on a short rest. This is an extremely critical bonus. It means we are going to be significantly better in this like short rest, many encounters per day combat style. We're also going to, of course, unlock third level spells. The third level spells I'm going to recommend are Acquisitions Incorporated motivational speech, if you can. I don't allow Acquisitions Incorporated stuff at my table. I think it's a little too non-fantasy for my fantasy worlds, but it's right there in the name. And especially if you didn't take Inspiring Leader, this helps shore up those options for speeches. If you otherwise, I think Catnap is super fun. It shortens the short rest duration for your party, which is really, really nifty. And I think it's also a great go hit the ice baths kind of coach thing to do, to like have people recover from their performance or their workout significantly faster. Very fun spell to employ when you get the chance. And maybe just grab something like a Dispel Magic. One of the things that support characters can do really well that the main combat characters can't is they can take time to undo the things that the enemy is doing, kind of like dismantle the enemy's plans, while the people with swords and spears and fireballs are just trying to destroy them. For level 6, Bard level 6, character level 7, what we want here from Mantle of Majesty, you gain the ability to cloak yourself in Fey magics. Nah, we are just going to be like in our peak coaching mode. And we can cast the command spell as a bonus action every turn without expending a spell slot. We can do something else with our action as long as it's not a concentration spell, because Mantle of Majesty does take up that concentration as if you were concentrating on a spell. It does free us up to make weapon attacks if we want to. I haven't really been building this character towards anything with martial prowess, but certainly if you wanted to, you can pick up a spare sword. I mean, you guys are 7th level. I assume that you've got the resources to kind of have whatever equipment you need. You can pick up a sword, make weapon attack, and then as a bonus action, issue command to one of your allies. I think that's super easy. Towards the end of this build, we could go a couple directions. I think I'm going to turn around and dip a different class. Totally optional. If you take this bard all the way, then you're great. But I'm going to go multi-class another charisma-based spellcaster so that our spell slot progression doesn't get slowed down. And I'm going to do that with the sorcerer. Specifically, the type of sorcerer I think we want to be is a Clockwork Soul sorcerer. This ties in really well to this love of order and this appreciation of the domain of order, and is also going to give us an ability that I think is useful, especially for that dismantling the enemy's plans that I discussed earlier. The ability in question is Restore Balance. It basically says that when someone's about to roll with either disadvantage or advantage, you can cancel it out a certain number of times. This might be helpful to cancel out the disadvantage that your rogue might have in certain circumstances, maybe in darkness or against an invisible target, allowing them to apply their sneak attack on one of the attacks that you trigger for them. It also might just give the ability to kind of counteract certain advantages that your opponent has. Because Restore Balance is related to proficiency bonus times per day, it means that taking this class this late is paying dividends, right? Because our proficiency bonus has been keeping up with our character level. So we're going to get 4 uses of this pretty soon towards the end of the build without having to have taken a lot of Sorcerer. We're now going to get the option to get meta magics. We could do something like Twin Spell if we wanted to take advantage of that feature, basically splitting a buff like Shield of Faith. Voice already says that if it applies to multiple people, you choose which one gets to make that attack, but it does mean that our buff spells that we're casting on a regular basis do have greater impact. If only we had more sorcery points to make use of this, it is a very expensive feature. I also might encourage grabbing Distance Spell here in case one of your teammates is in a strategic position that is far away from you and you want to cast a spell on them so that they get that extra attack on your turn. Maybe Distance Spell is going to let you to do that when you wouldn't ordinarily be able to. And if you're keeping track at home, that is going to be it. We'll finish off with a 3rd level of Sorcerer so that we get those that additional sorcery point. So we're Cleric 1, Bard 6, Sorcerer 3, and we are now able to continuously be triggering attacks from our allies, boosting them up before and after combat, giving them help on their skill checks, canceling out disadvantage if they've got it, and we're a really great support character, giving lots and lots of speeches to our team.
Mind what you have learned. Save you again.
Thank you guys so much for watching. As the channel is just getting started and growing, now is the absolute best time for feedback. So if you liked my build, hated the voice, had thoughts about the visuals, everything, put it in the comments. Good luck, and I hope your games are incredibly fun for both you and all your friends.